month's background building video. I'm trying to put one up every month because I love making backgrounds. So anyway, I finished making these 3 cards yesterday, so I'll link to this video on my Crafty Potential channel below. I was using lots of Creative Expressions products with the embossed resist technique. So I heat embossed in white and then ink blended Distress Oxides over the top and did some extra stamping, and I also coloured in the cute little pandas from a Woodware stamp set. So I thought I would show you how I do my embossed resist backgrounds. So I'm using the Thank You Sentiment Cloud stamp from Phil Martin in the Sentimentally Yours range from Creative Expressions, which is a lovely thick rubber stamp, and it's got the cling mount on the back, so you can use it on a block or a stamping, like stamp positioning tool, like your Tim Holtz stamping platform as well if you want to. But I'm not for this technique because I don't find you need to with heat embossing. So, okay, I'm going to use Cosmic Shimmer Detail True White Embossing Powder, Perfect Medium Sticky Ink Pad, and I think I'm going to use Picked Raspberry, Fossilized Amber, Seedless Preserves and Twisted Citron. I did a magazine commission a while ago, I think it was for Embossed Resist actually as well, and I used these colours and I really enjoyed working with them because they're kind of like citrusy, so that's why I've picked these colours, but I think I'm going to do them in that order, so they sort of go in a rainbow. So first of all, we want to take a piece of card. I just cut up my white card into quarters, so I use A4 white card from Craft UK and it's 300 GSM and it's just smooth white card, so I cut it into A6 pieces, which is like 10.5 that way, and I just guess the height because it's not exact, because I like to die cut it with an A2 stitch to rectangle, which is slightly shorter, so it doesn't matter if I don't get it exact. Anyway, so when you're heat embossing you want to use an anti-static powder tool. When I first started out crafting, I used to get so put off by heat embossing because you'd get the little speckles of powder everywhere and I'd end up overheating it and it looked awful and it soaked into the card. My problems were using a really cheap ink pad for embossing. You can tell what ones aren't going to work as well, because if you touch them they feel slimy, but when you then go on to investing in a Perfect Medium or the Versamark pad, when you touch them it's actually sticky. Like, I'd heard people before say it's a sticky ink pad and I was like, but my one seems slimy, not sticky. So that was one of my reasons why it was never working properly for me. And the other reason was the speckling is because you've got static on your card or oily fingerprints left on it, so you need an anti-static tool. You can get ones that are made from a fabric that let out a bit of the powder, or when I first realised this was the problem, I started off with a jam jar full of corn flour and I used one of these big mop brushes to dust it over my card. Oh, there's still corn flour in that one. To dust it over my card. So that's how I started out, and then I decided, now I realise that I did like heat embossing even more, so I invested in one of these. I did actually recently buy myself a new one because, as you can see, I've been a bit violent with this one, and there's like no brush left on the end. I still haven't used the new one yet, but that's got a lovely brush on the end to make it easier. But poor, that stinks like baby powder. Yeah, so there we go. We need an anti-static powder tool, and because I've killed the brush on this one, I tap it all over, and then I've just got this cheap little makeup brush I got from Poundland, and I just dust off the excess powder. So now we want to do our heat embossing. So I'm just going to take the stamp, ink up, can sort of, can you see that? Yeah, you can tilt it in the light just to check everything's shiny and covered with ink. So then I'm doing it this way because I don't feel like you need an acrylic block to do heat embossing. So because the ink's sticky, it just seems to work better. So I'm just going to place that on top and then simply press all over. And I mean, when you're doing a background, it doesn't really matter if you miss part of it, because you can always cover it up with the embellishment. It's probably going to get hidden behind whatever you add on top of it anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much. And then you can see, can you see? Oh, it's gone really blurry. You can kind of see it. Yeah, I should stop trying to show you that. Kind of see it. Right, then you want a scrap piece of paper and your white embossing powder, and then you just want to tip it all over, get the excess on the scrap paper, tap off any excess, flick it to get some off. If you've missed any places, you can just add a bit more, tap it again. And up here, you can see there's a little bit of residue. If you're worried about that, oh, and I've got a fingerprint on there as well, you can just use a small paintbrush that's dry. I keep this one as my embossing powder removing paintbrush. I just keep this in a separate pot from my other paintbrushes, so I always know that's the one. So we leave that there a second. Put the embossing powder back in the pot. Then we want to heat set this. Now there are two types of heat tools. This one is what you want for heat embossing. This one is what you want for drying your backgrounds. So we're heat embossing, so we want this one. You don't have to have both. I would recommend getting this one first. But when I got into doing a lot of art journaling, I was finding having the other one was really helpful for drying your pages in between stuff. So this is going to be really noisy. Sorry. Oh. Okay, one more top tip. You probably see me always putting my hand in front of my heat gun in my Crafty Potential videos. It's because you need to make sure your heat tool is hot before you take it to your cardstock. It just helps the powder melt quicker and you're less likely to overheat it and it sink into the cardstock. Okay, so that is part of it heat embossed, so you can see the difference. It goes shiny and all the particles kind of melt together to form your stamped image. Okay, there we go, it's all And I used white to do this one, but I've got a top tip. If you're just ink blending over the top, you can use white or clear powder, it doesn't matter. But if I was going to use watercolour over the top or water down my oxides and like squish it into it, you would definitely need to use white, because I've found in the past if you're adding too much water you oversaturate your card and all the colour seeps underneath the heat embossing when it's clear and you see it, whereas if it was white it wouldn't matter so much. So that's just another little top tip. Anyway, so I keep all my sponges for my Distress Oxide in one of these little boxes. I think they're called like playing card boxes or like narrow business card holder boxes. I think I got mine on eBay or Amazon. So I have one for each colour. The only downside about oxides is it gets everywhere. It's because it's pigment and dye together, it's quite of a messy ink. So if you're a messy crafter, you might not want to use Distress Oxide, you might want to go for Distress inks instead. Okay, so when I'm working with multiple colours, I like, oh see they've already made a mess on my desk. I like to take the lid off and put the ink pad on top of the lid and then put the ink tool on, so then I don't get any of them muddled up. Okay, so I think I'm going to do the diagonal version. I really like that. So I'm going to start, I think I might start here with the orange actually, although this is Fossilized amber, so it's kind of a yellowy orange. So you just want to do circular motions all over, and don't worry that the embossing powder has now turned a yellowy orange colour, because we will fix that. Okay, and then I'm going to go with the green on the corner. It's a dog hair. And if you didn't get a very smooth blend, you could go back in with the previous colour and blend it out. And then we want to go pink. Oh, it's quite a smooth blend there, but if you did want to blend it out a smidgen more, you could just go back. And then finally purple. There we go. Simple. So now we need a piece of kitchen roll. And you want to start with the lighter colours, and you just want to buff over the top. And you can see you're removing the excess ink from the heat embossing. There we are. Perfect. So clean up the work surface. Now, for my cards here, I used some other Creative Expression stamps to overstamp in the background, but I thought for this one, I'm just going to use the same stamp, I think, and just stamp it in a slightly different place, but ink it up in the different colours. So, if we're going to stamp it like this, we want this part to be green. So we want to flip it back this way, and we want this diagonal to be green. So we just want to ink up the green. Then we want it to go into the yellowy orange, and I'm just holding my ink pad at a bit of an angle so that I don't contaminate the green that I've already put down. This might not line up perfectly, but I don't think it matters. I think it looks quite nice. Let's just hope I got it the right way around. Anyway. Okay, then pink. So I'm holding my ink pad like that when I'm inking. And purple, we can flip this way. Okay, so now got our ink to stamp, and we just want to place it there and press down. This isn't going to be a really crisp impression because we're partially stamping over heat embossing, which is raised, but it will give some nice extra interest to our background. And it's a little bit off colour wise, but I really like that actually. It looks really good. And again, it looks like we've kind of lost our words now, but start with the lightest colour, just rub over, and we're just cleaning off all the heat embossing again. So there we go. So that is our background building video for this month, and it's Embossed Resist with Distress Oxides. And here are 3 finished cards I did. That was the diagonal again, but I just used different stamps in the background, and then I did radiating out from a circle, and I did horizontal as well. So hope you enjoyed the video. Bye!